Chapter 2. The mechanism of time. The mechanism of time is the basis of concept grammar. How does time work? We do not have control over time. However, to understand how time works, let us assume that we have control over time. That is, we can stop time and let it go anytime we want. Let's take a look now at this clock. The second hand is now frozen at second number 1, which is our present, the time we are living in now, or the time we exist in now. Seconds number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 represent the future. When time moves 1 second, the second hand moves from second number 1 to second number 2. Second number 2 was future, and now it is present. Second number 1, on the other hand, is now past. Seconds number 3, 4, 5, 6 are still in the future. Let's allow time to move again. The second hand will move from second number 2 to second number 3. Let's stop time one more time. Second number 3 was future and is now present. Second number 2 was present and is now past. Seconds number 4, 5, 6 are still in the future. The difference between seconds number 4 and 5 is that second number 4 is near future because it follows the present, second number 3, directly. Second number 5, on the other hand, is far future because it follows the near future, second number 4. Second number 5 is further away from the present than second number 4. We therefore consider second number 5 far future. Second number 6 is also far future, but it is further in the future than second number 5. The same thing applies in the past. Second number 2 is near past because it precedes or comes before the present, second number 3, directly. Second number 2 is closer in time to the present, second number 3, than second number 1, the far past. Therefore, near past and far past and near future and far future are determined according to their distance from the present. The mechanism of time is, therefore, a natural phenomenon whereby future becomes present and present becomes past. On the scale representing the mechanism of time, the future will receive the arithmetical value plus, because the future is time that is unused or time in credit. It is like money in the bank accumulating interest. The past on the lower part of the scale will receive the value minus because it is lost time or time that is used and therefore cannot be recalled or reused. It is like money taken out of the bank account and spent on buying a gift, for example. The present, on the other hand, receives the value 0 because it is the time that we live or experience, or the money that we took out of the bank account but have not spent yet. The money in this case does not have any value because it is not in the bank account to gain interest, and it hasn't been used to buy a gift. So the value of the money is 0. The mechanism of time is therefore a non-stop movement from future to present to past, or from plus to 0 to minus. Now let's look at time in terms of years. We are in the year 2017. That makes 2017 our present. 2018 is the first year in the future, plus 1, or more precisely, near future. 2019 represents plus 2, or far future. On the other side of the time scale, 2016 is the first year in the past, or minus 1, or near past. 2015, which equals minus 2, is also past, or more precisely, far past. Every one of us has a certain number of years to his or her credit. This credit decreases with every passing year. Let's assume that John is 40 years old now and will live to be 100 years old. This allows him a credit balance of 60 years. The time he spent already is 39 years. In 2018, John's balance will be reduced by 1 year to 59 years, and his lost time will increase by 1 year to 40 years, and he will be 41 years old. There is movement in the future and movement in the past, because the future and the past are made up of more than one value, or a range of values. So we have plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, etc. And we also have minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, etc., or a range of values. Movement in the future is subtractive, that is, it decreases in value. So, plus 2 becomes plus 1. Movement in the past, however, is cumulative, that is, it increases in value. So, minus 1 becomes minus 2. Because movement in the future is the opposite of movement in the past, we have to separate them. To separate these two types of movement, we need a moment of stillness or no movement. This moment of no movement is the present, and it receives the value 0 because there is no range of values. Because the present does not move, we do not feel this moment. What we feel is the future getting closer to us every year, and the past getting further away from us every year. No range, no movement, simple present. But how does the mechanism of time explain grammar? To answer the question, let's look at the following sentences. John is a teacher. John was a teacher. John will be a teacher. Present, past, future. Let's start with the past and discuss the meaning of John was a teacher. We ask a simple question. Is John now a teacher? The answer is no. He is now something else. John, therefore, has changed his profession. So there is change in John's state. Now we ask the same question about the future. John will be a teacher. Is John a teacher now? The answer is no. We understand that he is a student studying to become a teacher in the future. Again, there is change in John's state, but this change has not happened yet. Now we turn to the present. John is a teacher. Is John now a teacher? The answer is yes. John is still a teacher. Therefore, no change has happened to John's state. Now we go back to the past and discuss change in detail. We have two types of change. Change in the state of the person or the thing we are talking about, or change of state, and change by the death of the person we are talking about, or the elimination or disappearance of the thing we are talking about. This change is by termination. In the first case, John is still alive, but he is no longer a teacher. John has changed his profession. This makes change of state temporary change. That is, John can go back to teaching anytime he wants. In the second case, however, John is dead. And because John is dead, he can no longer teach. This makes change by termination permanent change. John was a teacher. Past, change of state, or by termination. The following sentence allows only for one type of change. John was old. This sentence allows only for permanent change, change by termination. This is because change of state is not realistic. John cannot change from old to young. The end result will be as follows. John was old, change by termination only. I was young. In contrast to example 2.4, in example 2.5, only temporary change or change of state is allowed. We only understand that the speaker, I, is now old. This is because the speaker cannot be dead and speak at the same time. You were young. The same thing applies to example 2.6, change of state only. We understand that the speaker is talking to someone who was young and is now old. This someone is still alive because we do not speak to dead people. Let's move on now to the future. John will be a teacher. This sentence means that John is now training to be a teacher, which means change of state. This change of state will come at some point in the future. For the change to happen, John has to be alive. So there is no room for change by termination. The future allows for change of state only. John will be a teacher, future, change of state only. Let's move on now to discuss the present. John is a teacher. Present. no change. According to grammar books, the simple present is used when we speak about facts and habits. No explanation is given, however, as to why this is the case. In concept grammar, we answer the question why. Facts and habits do not change, no change. Because the present is the only tense that means no change, it is only logical that we use it when we talk about facts and habits. The same reason applies when we describe things or people. John is strong. Describing. To describe John as strong, he has to remain strong, which means no change. The end result of the simple present is as follows. John is a teacher. Present, no change. Facts, habits, describing, no change. Instead of memorizing 3 different contexts, facts, habits, and describing, to be used in the simple present, we understand one concept, no change, which explains all 3 contexts. There are 2 types of facts, qualifiable facts and unqualifiable facts. Unqualifiable facts, such as natural phenomena, never change because they are beyond our control. The sun is a star. This natural fact is unqualifiable. That is, it cannot be changed because we have no control over the sun. That is why we cannot express this natural fact using the past or the future. The sun was a star. Example 2.9 means that the sun either does not exist, change by termination, or has become a planet, change of state. In both cases, the meaning is incorrect because, in reality, the sun still exists and is still a star. The sun will be a star. Example 2.10 means that the sun is now a planet and will become a star sometime in the future. This is also incorrect because the sun is actually a star. Qualifiable facts, on the other hand, are subject to our will. They are social facts. Kuwait is free. This fact changed in 1990 when Saddam Hussein occupied the state of Kuwait. Kuwaitis rose against Saddam's occupation. They used the sentence in 212. Kuwait was free. They used Kuwait was free to say that Kuwait was occupied. And they also used sentence 213. Kuwait will be free. They used Kuwait will be free to express their hope that Kuwait would be liberated. And that is exactly what happened in February 1991. So the fact changed once again, and Kuwait is now a free country. Now let's discuss habits. Habits are things that we do over and over again. John smokes cigarettes. Example 214 means that John has a habit of smoking. No change. However, because habits are subject to our will, that is, they are within our control, John can quit smoking if he wants. John smoked cigarettes. This sentence means that John does not smoke cigarettes now. John has changed from a smoker to a non-smoker. Change of state. Habits are usually introduced with what we call frequency words, such as always, every, usually, sometimes, often, seldom, rarely, never. But why are these words in particular used when we express habits? Again, we are asking why. We are discussing grammar at the highest level of thinking, the level of explanation. The frequency words above, by their nature, relate to things that happen over and over again, things that get repeated, or things that do not change, or no change. The difference between these frequency words is in the degree of no change. Each word expresses a certain degree of no change. I smoke cigarettes. I always smoke cigarettes. Example 216 means that the speaker smokes cigarettes, but it does not tell us how strong the habit of smoking is. Example 217, however, shows the speaker as a heavy smoker because he always smokes. The habit of smoking is very strong. The speaker in 217 carries a packet of cigarettes with him at all times, and he might be having health problems because of his smoking habit. I never smoke cigarettes. The word never in 218 is equal in strength to the word always, but in the negative sense. In other words, I never smoke cigarettes is equal to I always don't smoke cigarettes. The smoker in 218 hates the smell of cigarettes. There are therefore logical relationships between these frequency words. These logical relationships can be outlined on the frequency axis, where we have 100% positive and 100% negative, or 100% affirmative and 100% negative. Always means 100% affirmative. Never, on the other hand, means 100% negative. Never is therefore the opposite of always. The words often and rarely behave in the same way. Often equals 90% on the positive side of the scale, whereas rarely and seldom equal 90% on the negative side of the scale. I often smoke. I rarely smoke. The speaker in 219 smokes on most days of the week. The speaker in 220, on the other hand, might smoke once a month. On the frequency axis, the word usually equals 80%. And because there is no equal to usually on the negative side of the axis, we use the negative particle not to give the opposite of usually. Not usually. I usually smoke. I don't usually smoke. Finally, we have the word sometimes, which equals 50%, which makes it neutral. I sometimes smoke. The speaker in 223 does not have a serious problem with smoking because he can quit smoking anytime he wants. What is the difference between a sentence that contains a frequency word and a sentence that doesn't? I smoke cigarettes. I always smoke cigarettes. We can divide meaning into meaning, unmarked, marked. When the meaning is marked, that is, carrying a mark, it is specific or special. When the meaning is unmarked, that is, not carrying a mark, it is general. We can also say that the unmarked is the rule, whereas the marked is the exception to the rule. The unmarked is also the ordinary meaning and is therefore more common. The marked, on the other hand, carries an extraordinary meaning and is therefore less common. The speaker in 224 expresses his habit of smoking cigarettes without telling us how strong this habit is. The meaning is therefore general or unmarked. The speaker in 225, however, specifies the strength of the smoking habit with the word always, which makes the habit very strong. So strong that he might be worried about his health. The word always, therefore, makes the meaning special or marked. Because 224 is unmarked, it can be said to anybody. Example 225, on the other hand, cannot be said to anybody. It can only be said to a friend or a relative to ask for advice or help with the problem of smoking. But what if the speaker in 225 uses the marked sentence, I always smoke cigarettes, with a stranger he meets on the street? The stranger, no doubt, will be surprised or shocked. He might even feel scared of the speaker and might not respond to the speaker at all. This is because the speaker started his conversation with a total stranger by talking about a personal problem, his smoking habit. Adding the word always changes the meaning of I smoke cigarettes from unmarked to marked. There is therefore a negative relationship between the number of words in the sentence and the meaning. The more words in the sentence, the more marked the meaning will be. The more marked the sentence is, the less common it becomes or less used. That is why 224, I smoke cigarettes, is used more than 225, I always smoke cigarettes. We can also use the frequency words in the past and the future, but the meaning will be extra marked. I always smoked, marked. The speaker in 226 was a heavy smoker, but he stopped smoking. The speaker can use 226 with a friend or relative who is a smoker to encourage him to quit smoking. When we compare 227, I always smoke, with I always smoked, we realize that 227 can be said to a doctor to ask him for help. Example 226, on the contrary, cannot be said to a doctor because the speaker quit smoking already. Sentence 227, I always smoke, is therefore more common or used more often than sentence 226. This makes example 227 unmarked when compared with 226, which in turn is marked. The reason here is not the word always because it is used in both sentences. The reason is the difference in tense. Example 227 is in the present, whereas 226 is in the past. Changing the tense from the present to past changes the meaning from unmarked to marked. When we compare the simple present with the simple past without adding frequency words, the end result will be as follows. Simple present, I smoke, unmarked. Simple past, I smoked, marked. When we add always to the simple present and the simple past, we get the following result. Simple present plus always, I always smoke, marked. Simple past plus always, I always smoked, extra marked. I always smoked is extra marked because we did two things. We changed the tense from present to past, and we added the frequency word always. We can therefore conclude that we have degrees of markedness, or a scale of markedness. We have marked and extra marked, meaning unmarked, marked, extra marked. Now let's take a look at always in the future. I will always smoke. The speaker in 228 is an occasional smoker who wants to become a heavy smoker. He might be going against the advice or wish of his father or mother who do not want him to smoke. The speaker in 228 might therefore be a teenager challenging the authority of his father or his mother. The meaning in 228 is limited only to this context or situation. This makes example 228 extra marked. Adding always to the simple future makes it extra marked, or XX marked in short form. Simple past plus always, I always smoked, two meanings, extra marked. Simple future plus always, I will always smoke, one meaning, extra marked. Because the simple future is extra marked, it allows for change of state only as discussed earlier. Simple future, change of state only. The simple past, on the other hand, allows for two types of change: change of state or change by termination. Simple past, change of state or by termination. An overview of the levels of meaning will give us the following. Simple present, no change, unmarked. Simple past, change of state or by termination, marked. Simple future, change of state only, extra marked. And when we add a frequency word such as always, the meaning will change from unmarked to marked, and from marked to extra marked, and from extra marked to extra marked. Simple present plus always, marked. Simple past plus always, extra marked. Simple future, plus always extra marked. Summary. 1. The mechanism of time is a non-stop movement in which the future plus 1 becomes present 0 and the present 0 becomes past minus 1. 2. The simple present means no change. Therefore, it is used when we speak about things that do not change, such as facts, habits, and describing. 3. The simple past and the simple future mean change. Change in the past is either temporary change, change of state, or permanent change, change by termination. 4. Facts are either qualifiable under our control or unqualifiable out of our control. 5. Habits are qualifiable because they are under our control. 6. Frequency words are used to determine the degree of no change. They are therefore not used with unqualifiable facts. 7. Meaning can be unmarked, marked, extra marked, or extra marked. 8. Changing the meaning from unmarked to marked or extra marked can be done by A. Adding frequency words such as always. B. Changing the tense from present to past or from past to future. C. Adding frequency words and changing the tense at the same time. 9. The more marked a sentence is, the less common it becomes. Unmarked sentences are therefore used more often than marked sentences, and marked sentences are used more often than extra marked sentences, and extra marked sentences are used more often than extra marked sentences.